This part is going to be about the Web of Things. We want to explore what this term is all about and what it means, or what it could potentially mean for developing APIs for small devices. And of course, it's about the Internet of Things. So devices and things that become smart and connected, so they can talk to each other or talk to cloud services, for example, and which leads to real-world objects becoming part of the World Wide Web and expressed via APIs within the web. And the Web of Things, the term is about approaches, software architectural styles, and programming patterns for these real-world objects to be part of the World Wide Web. This is from a Wikipedia post. You can find more information there. And it's based on internet and web standards. So it's about technical internet standards such as HTTP as a protocol, for example, but also about web standards, for example, semantic web or JSON LD and things like that. It's driven by the World Wide Web Consortium, W3C, and they have an interest group which includes forums for participants to discuss use cases of the Web of Things. They have a working group to work on standards and standard bodies, and a community group for implementing Web of Things architectures and example, and to try all this out. So I'd like to show a little overview of the information model in abbreviated form. So we're only going to see a small part of the Web of Things information model. So at the center there's the web thing, and it's smart, it's connected, and it wants to communicate with other things or services on the web. And the Web of Things information model contains interaction patterns, and there are 3 of them, namely properties, events, and actions. So properties are something that the thing knows or stores and can give access to. Actions can be triggered from the outside, and the thing can raise events of certain types to inform others that things have happened. So as an example, we could imagine a little device that measures the humidity and controls a ventilator, so it can start and stop the ventilator. So properties could be the humidity, which is measured by a sensor attached to the device. And another property could be the ventilator state, a simple Boolean that indicates whether the ventilator is turned on or off. So to have some logic on the device, there should be a humidity threshold as an integer expressed in humidity as a percentage. And if the humidity goes above or below that threshold, some things could happen, and for that I need the threshold to store it within the device. There could be 2 events, for example. One that is triggered when the humidity goes above the defined humidity threshold, and one that triggers when the humidity falls back below that threshold. So the web thing needs to continuously measure the humidity and fire these events in case. Let's say we have an action called start ventilator that can be triggered from externally. So if I want to have the device started, I send this action, and this can be a long-running action. Even the starting of the action could be longer running, so the request to start the ventilator can return immediately and then runs, for example, in the background. And it shall run until the humidity goes below the threshold. If so, another event could be fired, like ventilator stopped, because the thing stops the ventilator, for example. So this is a small example of properties, events, and action that can form the interaction patterns. The question is, when implementing this, what technological things come our way if we want to do so? And there is the part of physical data transmission, so there might be connectivity such as Ethernet, Wi-Fi, or from the smart home sector, maybe protocols such as Zigbee or Z-Wave. Or we could imagine for building factory plants somewhere outside, there may be an LTE cellular integration. But typically these are not enough. There could be access protocols from the web are known such things such as HTTP or MQTT, and CoAP is an application level protocol specifically for the Internet of Things. Note that these protocols could possibly apply only for a subset of the physical transmission options that we have here. And we need some form of discoverability. So when a web thing joins a network, we want to know, and we want to know its IP address. So this is where, for example, MDNS comes into play, or SSDP as protocols. And we want to be able to discover the thing itself and its capabilities. And that's where, for example, the thing description is for. It could be expressed in JSON or JSON LD. So when we would want to implement a device that connects in this way, we need to make some decisions here of what data transmission to use, what protocols, and how to make it discoverable and stuff. And as we can see, there are multiple options and there are multiple combinations of these. Some do work, some don't work, and typically it comes to the question of what could be possible bindings, so combinations of these things that lead to valid implementations. This is also part of the working group, the Web of Things working group, to define standards that deal with this sort of bindings. Another interesting topic is the project Things, which is driven by the Mozilla Foundation. And they have implemented certain technical things there. It's the Things Gateway, which is a software package that runs on a Raspberry Pi and forms an application level gateway. The Things Cloud to connect to your gateway and devices from the web. And the Things Framework with libraries for implementing, for example, plugins on a gateway or plugins on devices. And they're working on a WebThing API. On the right side, you can see a draft of a standard describing the WebThing API, and in this case, the WebThing description. And essentially, it's very close to the thing description with the distinction that it is formulated in JSON only and not JSON LD, just to make things simpler. And it's made for be served over a REST API, that's HTTP, optionally WebSockets. So that is a very clear and concise way to implement a web thing on a small device. So why use Web of Things or the WebThing API at all? Well, I believe first of all because they have an information model. They say, okay, there are interaction patterns and we can distinguish between properties, events, and actions. These are some basic constructs that make up together this overall model. And they're aiming at standardization of all of this, which makes totally sense. It uses internet and web standards such as HTTP, JSON, MQTT, and many others. So it's built upon standards. It has the ability to describe itself using the thing description, and is discoverable, meaning the thing itself can be discovered on local networks, and its internal structure can be queried and observed using the protocols and the thing description. And as it is of now, at least for the WebThing API, it's known to be adaptable to constrained devices. If you want to know more, as this is just a small overview, I encourage you to take a look at these two resources on the web, w3.org/WOT. That's the Web of Things page at W3C with their interest group, the working group, and the community group. Lots of information there. Additionally, iot.mozilla.org, which is the main site for the project Things by Mozilla with their gateway, framework, and API.